I'm sat here with Greg in Ashton's new sports pavilion, made possible by funding from DEC. As part of this, Ashton have spent money on solar panels on the roof, and they've also bought an electric car. And this is all part of the plan to become the first carbon neutral village.
Indeed. And while the carbon neutral project is progressing steadily, membership of the electric car didn't progress perhaps as rapidly as we had anticipated. So following on from this, Gary brought myself and Tom in as consultants to put together a strategy as part of a voluntary project in order to increase membership and ultimately make the electric car more financially viable. So Tom, impressions on how the car looks?
Yeah, it's a really nice car. I mean, it's brand new, and as an electric car, it doesn't stand out at all on the road compared to anything else.
Yeah, I agree.
So Greg, talk to me about the keycard system.
Well, users of the car are given a keycard to unlock the car, in addition to which there's a keycard inside to unlock the pod point. So already with two keycards could be a little bit fiddly, I imagine, for users. Also, there's a level of electronic gadgetry combined with the fact that it's a new way of getting into a car. I could see this as being a barrier to use. On the other hand, having a keycard that fits in your wallet is convenient. So advantages and disadvantages. Should we get in?
Yep.
Okay. So Tom, what are the first impressions someone gets as they get into the car?
Well, it's definitely very spacious. It's clean, it's nice and comfortable. Only downside I can see is the dashboard is very big, which means you can't see the bonnet.
I agree. Alright, let's turn on the car. I do enjoy when you turn the car on, comes to life, then you know it's a very technical new model. Down here you've got your AUX and USB inputs for people who want to listen to their music. In here you have the interactive screen, so you have your sat-nav. Also, a good feature is that you can look up the nearest charging station, which is good for people who we need to get over the trepidation or over the limited range of an electric car. I also do enjoy, when you put it into reverse, you've got a video camera at the back. Makes parking easier and probably safer.
So yeah, overall we've got a really nice first impression of this car. So then Greg, let's take the car for a ride. So how would you rate the performance of this car compared to say your 1.6 Astra?
I have to put my foot down, pick up speed nice and quickly, even across the 40 to 60 mile an hour range. It's a lot more comfortable and a lot more quiet than my 1.6, which is nice. I mean, right now we're having a conversation that wouldn't necessarily be difficult on a petrol car, but it's certainly made easier by the quiet engine.
So, Greg, talk to us, what's the difference between being in drive mode and eco mode?
Well, you have two settings. So currently we're in drive mode. That gives you access to a higher range of performance. But now, just as we're going to come up to a country lane, I'll switch down into eco mode. And that regulates how much energy, I guess, the engine exerts. It's essentially forcing you to drive as a more conscious driver.
But what we found in 2009-10 was that although the overall footprint had gone down by 20%, when we broke it into components, flights had come down a lot, home energy had come down a lot, but car travel had barely changed at all.
Interesting.
So we thought that's an obvious issue to tackle.
Delighted with the ability to have access to such a innovative scheme, and would want to support it in every way and any way that I possibly can.
I think it's great. I absolutely support it being there. I think it's a fantastic thing for Ashton.
The standing time seems to be a major problem for me and other people in relation to the use of the car.
It doesn't meet my needs. Okay.
because we need, as a family, more hours of a car than I would rent it for.
We're introducing two new concepts at once. That's the thing I think that may cause problems. One, it's a community car, and two, it's an electric car. So those are two new things for people to get used to.
And there seems to be a very big concern in the village for having to pay for the car when you've parked somewhere.
And technological barriers might apply more to actually the majority of the population than they apply to us.
Well, there's lots of charging docks, but they're just not going to charge it in a quick enough time frame to make it realistic.
Practical. Okay, so range means that people have needed cars long before the electric car got in, and now that they're used to the convenience of their own car, they're not in a rush to give it up. The very idea of changing the very way that you transport yourself is daunting for certain members of Ashton's community.
I think population density is definitely a big factor when it comes to it.
And rural communities' dependence on their own personal means of transport. Let's talk about the positives.
Okay.
What has our research begun to show?
Well, people seem to like the electric car. Most people seem to know about it. They know that it's parked outside of the pavilion, and there's a general interest about it.
There are financial benefits. No road tax, no MOTs,
No insurance.
no insurance. It's just a £5 monthly direct debit and a simple logging in process for when you want to use the car. Ashton is very committed to the concept of becoming carbon neutral.
Yep.
And being a part of the electric car gives you a sense of community, a sense of a contribution to those attempts. But the idea of sharing the electric car is a little bit strange, right? Not because it's an electric car, but sharing any car. Perhaps they're a smoker, perhaps they want to take their dog for a walk, perhaps they're going to pick up McDonald's on the way home. Maybe it's not going to be there, maybe they're not going to have charged it, you know, they're not going to have been responsible enough. So, after an assessment of the findings, we've concluded that we need to tackle promotion in 3 ways.
Yep. So the first way is to raise awareness, so we're going to park the car outside the shop every Saturday morning, and that way we can engage with the public and offer them a lift home, just so they can see the inside of the car.
Absolutely. Secondly, we need to take on the issue of the pricing structure. So we'll get in touch with Common Wheels, we'll lay out a fixed rate of £10 for 3 hours, £15 for 6 hours, £20 for 12 hours, and thereby hopefully eliminate the problem of a standing charge.
Yeah. And finally, we're going to run a promotional scheme whereby new members can take 3 guests in the electric car, and we'll give them a lift to and from the pub, and they'll also get 10% off their bill.
Excellent. All right, we'll get to work.
As we're coming to an end of your involvement in the project, now's a good opportunity to look back at the successes and mistakes we've had.
And perhaps our biggest mistake was hinging so much of our personal efforts on changing the pricing structure, which unfortunately through Common Wheels turned out not to be achievable, and consequently it was demotivating for ourselves. We also felt like we let down potential users of the car who were perhaps expecting a pricing change to come in.
And there's definitely strong support within Ashton for the carbon neutral project, but this goodwill alone isn't enough to get people to sign up to this project and to invest money and time into something that's, well, it's a very new concept.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also, looking back, the project lacks a bit of overall leadership. Having an identifiable character, a project champion, who was unquestionably in charge of the organisation, would give the community someone to refer any questions, any issues that they had, and give us an organisational stability that we could have benefited from.
But saying that, membership is definitely growing.
Yeah, and as long as membership got to the point where the car was financially viable, we could then take some of the pressure off and allow membership to grow more organically over time.
So, to conclude, there are a lot of barriers to entry.
Absolutely. We have the range of the car, various technical aspects, the fact that we live in a rural community, not to mention the price. That being said, the electric car still holds a lot of potential benefits for both the community and a lot of potential benefits for Ashton Hayes' continued efforts to become the UK's first carbon neutral village.